Dilemmas to be resolved as the trade deadline approaches, 6 days away. Who will make moves? Who won't make moves? Some moves made yesterday. The Ravens pick up Diontae Johnson, the former Steelers receiver who was traded to Carolina this year. Obviously, Panthers in sell mode. Diontae Johnson goes to Baltimore. I didn't really know the Ravens were looking. They were kind of lurking for Devontae Adams if they could have stolen him. And they must have stolen Diontae Johnson because the Ravens are like the Steelers. They're just there, and if the opportunity arises, we'll take it. But we're not going to be desperate. We're not going to give up draft capital willy-nilly. We have to do a good deal. And it tells me Carolina looked high and low for a better offer before they settled for whatever the Ravens were willing to give up for Diontae Johnson.
Yeah, me and my brother were going back and forth on this. He was all for it. He's like, anytime you add more threats, and for this offense to get another guy like Diontae Johnson out there and makes him even more dangerous. My thought process right away was, is Diontae Johnson going to play cornerback for this team? Because when they were on their 5-game winning streak, they averaged 35 points a game. They just scored 24 points against the Cleveland Browns. I don't think their offense is the issue. The problem is they can't stop anybody in the pass game on defense. They're one of the worst teams in the league in pass defense. It showed up against Sunday against Jameis Winston and the Browns. So this team, the Baltimore Ravens, we know they're knocking at the door to be in the Super Bowl. They got to deal with the Chiefs at some point this year in the playoffs. That's always going to be the talk, but I don't know how good they're going to be in the playoffs if this pass defense doesn't get better. And I'm not saying they needed to go add somebody at cornerback or something for their pass defense, but to add somebody, I don't know if Diontae Johnson's going to make as big of an impact as it's going to be their pass defense figuring out what they need to do. Diontae Johnson's had a good year, a decent year so far that you can have on one of the worst teams in the NFL in the Carolina Panthers. So he's a good football player, and I do believe anytime you add a good football player to your team, it makes you better. But when you have a deficiency like they have right now with their pass defense that showed up, dropped interceptions, different things that continue to happen throughout the game, just look like miscommunications and things like that, I don't know for Baltimore. I think that needs to be fixed more than anything. But nonetheless, adding Diontae Johnson, I do think it'll help him. I just don't know if it gets him over the hump and into the Super Bowl.
And they really did steal him. It's a 5th-round pick for Diontae Johnson and a 6th-round pick from Carolina. It's going to be a low 5 and a high 6. They really didn't downgrade the flip-flop of picks all that much. I mean, hell, at the end of the day, if the Ravens win the Super Bowl, it's a one-spot drop from 32 in round 5 to 1 in round 6 if the Ravens would put it together and win the Super Bowl. But I agree with you. If the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl, they need to address the back end of the defense, and maybe they will. Maybe this was just the first little pebble in the water to let everyone know that they're willing to do more business between now and Tuesday. But they want to do it on their own terms. That's the message I take.
And maybe it's adding a pass rusher. It's hard to me to add defensive back depth in the trade deadline, unless somebody's up for grabs that we just don't know. But they have a lot of pretty good players in their secondary at the corner position. They need them to play better. But maybe it's adding a little bit more pass rush. Kyle Van Noy's had a big year for them rushing the passer. Obviously, you have Matabike, but maybe it's adding another guy whose sole mission is rushing the passer. That when you get in these passing situations, now you got to block 3 or 4 different guys who are really good at that and being a specialist at pass rushing. So maybe that's something that they think about doing as this deadline comes up.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.